we haven't really branded downtown Santa Rosa in a way that's recognizable.
It feels very disjointed. It doesn't feel connected.
There's still a work in progress going there.
Welcome to North Bay 101, a weekly analysis of the top stories from California's North Bay region. Reporters and editors from 5 surrounding counties take an in-depth look at the headlines shaping our community. I'm your host, Chandra Back. Today, a new experiment is launching in downtown Santa Rosa. For the next few months, Ross Street will be transformed into a pedestrian-focused gathering space with live music, food trucks, and family activities. Organizers say they hope it will bring more people downtown and, more importantly, give them a reason to stay. But underneath that experiment is a much bigger question. For decades, Santa Rosa has been trying to create a downtown that feels vibrant, connected, and full of life. So why is it there's still something that hasn't yet been achieved? I'm joined today in the studio by Natalie Hansen, the Press Democrat's business reporter. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, good morning.
Also in the studio, Marie McCusker, Executive Director of the Petaluma Downtown Association and Visitors Program. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
And calling in is Pauline Block, Chair of Santa Rosa's Downtown Action Organization. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, happy to be here.
So Ross Street Live is going live. Natalie, can you explain what it is?
Sure. So starting August 14th, running right through October 31st, this will be an approximately 3-month pilot program in Santa Rosa, and it's testing out what it looks like to pedestrianize a downtown area. This is on Ross Street. It is not part of an original proposal on 4th Street, but it is testing out what that would look like for the overall downtown.
So what was that original proposal?
The original proposal looked at blocking off a portion of 4th Street to traffic, in part to create kind of a dedicated pedestrianized walkable business area with entertainment, food, kind of a community gathering space. And now Ross Street will be that space, focusing more on live entertainment, local bands, and food.
Pauline, what can people expect with Ross Street Live?
We intentionally made it really a mix of events. So we have weekday food trucks Monday through Friday for lunch. And then Friday and Saturday, there will be live music in the evenings. And Sunday, we have more of a market kind of family activity vibe going on. So we're really interested to see, what draws people downtown at different times and who we see come out to enjoy those different types of options.
For anyone who doesn't know, Natalie, what is pedestrianization?
Yeah, so this long word means essentially turning a formerly drivable or public city location into a place where people can walk, can bike. It is blocked off to traffic, but it's also kind of a business space.
Pauline, what is the hope of this new experiment of Ross Street Live?
Yeah, I think, there were a lot of perspective to consider on the earlier concept, and we really wanted to find something that was giving us an opportunity to test some of the ideas, but maybe on a smaller scale. So Ross Street became the perfect place for that. We're really trying to just try something new, learn from it, see how people respond. The main goal is to create reasons to come downtown, and I think more importantly than that, reasons to stay downtown. So giving options like this where somebody could stay for the entire day and then visit a restaurant they love or shop around before and then come to Ross Street Live. That's really the goal. It's part of good downtown revitalization to provide events that are consistent and repetitive so that people know what to expect. It's not just once a month. They can come down any day of the week, specifically on the weekends, and really enjoy, something happening.
And Natalie, you mentioned as you report that this is something that's been in the works for a while. Why has it taken a long time to go live?
Yeah, as reported by Pauline Pineda over the years, the City Council has been looking at a way to make this work specific to downtown for a while. In 2024, the City Council asked staff to explore opportunities for pedestrian-oriented spaces. And then in 2025, they got a lot of community input, including from a community survey and a council study session. They were looking at other cities and how that has worked out for their downtowns. And then, of course, out of that input, they decided we're going to try this on Ross Street. We're going to start this way and then think about 4th Street in the future.
As you've spoken to residents, community members, businesses. What are some of the reactions?
I think that people are excited. Of course, we've seen the success from Wednesday Night Market, but I also think that this kind of opens up a new opportunity that's more focused on live entertainment. I especially spoke to some folks such as Josh Walden, owner and general manager at School of Rock Santa Rosa. He said this is really an opportunity, especially for student and up-and-coming bands. It's also a way to better connect with other members of the arts community. And I think people are just really seeking to get more out in their communities and have it be accessible, especially for folks who maybe it depends on the time of day. Maybe at night they need to really pay attention to when they have to head home with children. But it makes it more approachable for families and for business owners to try other methods of pop-up entertainment that work for them.
Pauline, this trial, if you can call it, is going to run for 3 months. What would you say would be a success if Ross Street Live was successful?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot, and I think this is more testing pedestrian-oriented activation downtown on, kind of a manageable scale with Ross Street. And I think the output that we get will be really telling. So, does someone come for music and then go have dinner like I was talking about? Or do they come shop and then stay? What do we hear from the actual audiences that are coming downtown? What is their input back? I don't think every experiment or, pilot has to become permanent to be worthwhile. It's really what we get back from feedback to understand what people actually want and what they want to see. And I think also it's to show, we had really active businesses around Ross Street that are so excited to participate and have put in a ton of hours to make this happen. And I think sometimes when something new comes, if people have been in the downtown a long time, it might be able to really show them what pedestrianization looks like. And maybe it's a different experience than what they might have experienced in other downtowns.
I keep hearing this idea from Natalie and now from you, Pauline, of wanting people to stay. Is that a conversation that's been had in Santa Rosa about how do we keep people once they come here?
I mean, I think in really successful downtowns, that's what you have, right? You have a place where people can come and stay and want to return and have a reason to return. I think that is the constant conversation of providing a downtown that is a amenity to everyone and to be able to not just come for that one shop and leave.
Yeah, I think you can look to other cities like San Mateo, cities of similar size that have just really seen the success of being able to close off for longer periods to vehicle traffic and even seen growth for businesses and even new businesses and increased community event organizing. I think it just not only increases what people see as a safe and interesting place, but it increases the chances that they'll come back, day after day. It's not just for one day of the week. And even people who don't live in that area might say, wow, I didn't know this was opening. I'm going to come back on a Saturday next time and then spend more time this band is playing. It really increases that accessibility for young families too, which I think is a big concern for cities.
This is a conversation that's been had for many, many years. I know we're talking about Ross Street Live as this test, and there's a bigger question underneath it that's been a topic in Santa Rosa for decades. I'd like to read part of the first paragraph from a 1997 article in the former Sonoma County Independent called Santa Rosa Stew. At first glance, downtown Santa Rosa seems like a pleasant place to spend some time and money. But stay a while and try and catch the gotta be here buzz? Good luck. This article was written about 30 years ago. What are some reflections to that now?
I can chime in a little bit. And again, in comparing Petaluma to Santa Rosa, it's finding a bit of a soul, right? You've got to find a vibe or a feeling that keeps you in a destination. Our job is to promote Petaluma as a destination, as a hometown that you feel welcome at and that you can come and spend an entire day, encouraging you to come downtown and stay a while. All of the events that we produce, like the But of a Next Day Parade and the Antique Fairs and the Art and Garden, and all the holiday merchant events, are all designed to try and connect people to the downtown and an opportunity for every business there to be part of it in whatever way they choose to be, but we encourage them to get in front of people and get people to come back. Takes a lot of work to get people on board as a community to share a piece of the pie, not or compete against each other. So building community is really important with your businesses. also finding ways to bring people downtown, but once they're there, is how to get them into different areas.
Natalie or Pauline, if you have any reflections to that previous article as well.
I'm struck by what you said about like the connection of the community and among everyone's interests in there, drawing them back to downtown, because I think in my reporting, I've noticed kind of there is a bit of a disconnect between Railroad and Courthouse. And I know there's been more communication over time, and the city's really, I think, trying to increase that all through connection. But I think that there's still a work in progress going there. We had an article a couple months ago about seeing more children and seniors, and what a big part of that is for SMART. Like during the summer, the free tickets, bringing people on SMART, moving through Railroad, moving into the mall. But then I hear from other folks saying this: you can't break away from the context of a downtown that does have a freeway and does have a mall kind of right in the middle. It is faced with what the development became, and so kind of creating those bridges I think is really important, and that you see that in the community really trying to communicate with each other about what would keep people there and moving throughout those districts in a way that would benefit everyone. So the dialogue is open. I think there is a past development issue that people associate with Santa Rosa. This mall,
They're
right in the
divided,
middle.
aren't they? You divide. You've got your one courthouse, and then you've got a mall,
Right.
and then you've got the old part, and people relate to one or the other.
Right.
Sometimes they don't do both. So, and they are walkable, but not easily walkable.
And that is a constant conversation. I served on the Railroad Square board as well for many years, and I will say that the communication between the two districts is really strong, and there is a deep desire for there to be better connectivity, from SMART throughout the districts. And the mall has actually been a really involved participant in also addressing how that could potentially happen. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, Petaluma is a concentrated downtown, right? You have like human scale streets. It's small enough to be walkable. And so Santa Rosa is a very different city from that. It's more of an urban form where, much larger. I think with that, you have larger opportunity, but also larger challenges. We even see, throughout California and the state, we know that downtowns that are large are being affected by issues that are expensive and costly and take a lot of time to address. And so I think all of those things are a little bit more of a challenge for Santa Rosa, but I think there's been really great momentum. And really what we, continue to go back to is like, how do we build on that momentum? How do we do these little things like Ross Street Live, like others to make small steps forward so that we can then push those bigger initiatives?
Yeah. I think it's great that you're doing that. You've got to never give up on the fact that you just have to score something in a sense of connecting people. And any opportunity to bring people downtown, whether in an open space, they feel connected. So we're talking right now with an urban chat group that have a desire to pedestrianise a street in the core of the downtown. And it's, our merchants are very protective of their spaces. They don't necessarily see the benefit of that because parking is such a premium. I think sometimes fear is what drives people to be worried about what could possibly be successful, but we're in discussions with that. I made suggestions that a street like Water Street right on the waterfront could be a pilot for that. Like, you're not taking a major street that's got lots of parking and tons of businesses on it that might be affected about their worry about having loss of parking. You're using Ross Street, which is relatively not business forward. There's a lot of logistics in closing streets and getting vendors in, so I understand your reasoning for do that, and I really hope it's successful for you.
I want to go back to a word that really struck me that you said, Marie, which was the word soul. You're talking about the soul of Petaluma, the vibe of Petaluma. I want to pose that question to Pauline about downtown Santa Rosa. What would you describe as the soul or the vibe of Santa Rosa if you were to try and explain this to someone who's never been before?
Yeah, I mean, candidly, that's something we talk about, and I hear people talk about all the time, is really Santa Rosa's identity. And I think that is one of the areas we have an opportunity to better define. I think that we haven't really distinctly branded downtown Santa Rosa in a way that's recognizable, and that's a huge opportunity for us. I think we have a really great handful of entertainment venues that have opened recently, and that could be a really interesting area to explore. We don't really have other, surrounding downtowns that really focus specifically on that entertainment. I think that's a question for the city of Santa Rosa. And I know council and the city talk about it a lot, but really finding out what is that identity, and how do we lean into it and make steps. And again, I think that's one reason this is a really good test to see if people connect with live entertainment.
Natalie, from your reporting, what do people in the Santa Rosa community or the local government say about that, about the identity or about what might be missing from downtown Santa Rosa?
I think there's a lot of hope to preserve kind of what 4th Street as a focal point for downtown represents. And I know there are businesses that have been there for decades and really hope to preserve that history in downtown Santa Rosa. I do think, though, there's also a lot of conversation about how to help it evolve. There's a plan underway thinking about development of Courthouse Square, including development of housing. There's been a lot of discussion about also more housing in the downtown core as a huge part of that. And I think it all fits together in this conversation about not only what future businesses will look like in the area, but also how to keep people there, even people who would like to live closer to this part of the town. And I know many cities are really concerned about how to keep people close in those infill areas, and who really are invested in not just the look, but also the history and the feel of the city. So I see that, I think, coming out of these conversations. And of course, the Economic Development Subcommittee, it comes up time and again of how to make this sustainable for the city within, of course, the budget constraints we all have.
Pauline, as you've spoken with community members and outside businesses and organizations, how would you say that you perceive the way the general Santa Rosa community sees downtown?
That's a really good question, and something that I ask literally every person I talk to. I really do think that, whether it's perception or real, your perception becomes your messaging, right? And so I do think a lot of what I hear is perception. But because when I ask people, they give me feedback on Santa Rosa, and then I say, when was the last time you came downtown? And they're like, oh, it was probably during COVID or maybe like 2 years ago. And so, a lot can change in that amount of time. And so I do think a lot of it is perception, but you can't change perception with a slogan or with marketing. Really, it's really like providing experiences for people to come down and experience themselves. So I think if we are able to build on those experiences, create something that people are attracted to, and then they can see for themselves how downtown has changed, and then consistently do those repetitive, positive experiences, that's how you really change a downtown. We do see a lot of people not coming downtown because of perception. When I talk to people who are from the outside who come downtown Santa Rosa, or I have visitors come to town, they're always like, this is so cute. I love downtown Santa Rosa. So it's very interesting, the different perspectives that you get from different groups of people.
And Marie, from the Petaluma Downtown Association, how would you say that Petaluma perceives downtown Santa Rosa?
I haven't really thought about too much, and I do have a couple of employees, people that work with me that live in Santa Rosa. And they'll often say it feels very disjointed, it doesn't feel connected, it doesn't have the sense of connectivity that makes you feel like you've gone to a destination to want to be there for a long period of time. But also I always push this message that you have to also get out to your community, that your downtown's your jewel. Your community has to want to own it, and supporting small local businesses. That's what it's all about. I mean, you can have lots of banks, lots of mortgage advisors, lots of whatever, but if you haven't got a place where people feel that they can go shop, they can eat, they can feel connected, and whatever that means in a sense of maybe smaller events on a regular basis that are in the downtown, maybe make people feel more connected, more family events that are different, that, the day that you bike through the downtown, you shut off for a bike event or whatever it is for local families to ride. It's all about trying to bring it back that this is your downtown. And it's not about us bringing tourists in, which really help. It's about our residents feeling that they have a sense of place, which helps everyone, even your own home prices.
Pauline, I'd like to end on a note of potential. Santa Rosa is the biggest city in the North Bay, and it's the 5th largest city in the Bay Area. Thinking about what could it be, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's weaving together everything we talked about today. I think it's building the business community downtown. I think it's building those repetitive events that people can count on and that cater to many different demographics and age groups, connecting the two sides of downtown to provide greater benefit for people to be able to come downtown, stay, find something new, have something to return for, just giving people reasons to move through the district, discover what's here, and really just enjoy being in downtown Santa Rosa.
And my last question is for everyone. Natalie, from your reporting, Marie, from your experience with Petaluma Downtown Association, and Pauline with the Downtown Action Organization. From what we've talked about today, what does a downtown need to have for that gotta be here buzz?
For me, it's a sense of place. Basically, our stores have small independent stores, but a variety of different types of businesses that encourage people to be part of it, and also not just tend to tourists, very much take care of your own community, have a place where people really can shop and really can afford to eat, and have activities that people can attend. Then they feel that they're connected and have a sense of pride.
Yeah, I think it needs to be a good mix of accessibility for people with different needs, businesses that are open at different hours, not just to focus on wine tourism and bars, but also places that stay open a little later, like your community cafe. And it does have to be walkable, bikeable. I think that helps create a sense of safety and also being able to connect with others, not just be kind of a pass-through transient area. And you just that sense of, I belong here. I can find not just people like me, but also experience something different.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say, so I have to steal it from Natalie too, is I want something to go downtown for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and nightlife, right? From one scale to the other, I want to know there's something going on. And I think my biggest thing when I look at downtowns that I am interested in visiting, it's if I have people visiting me, do I want to bring them to my downtown? Do I want to show that off? And for downtown Santa Rosa, that includes everything we've talked about, like I said, but also with the scale of downtown, it includes, more housing, more people working downtown, employers bringing their businesses, more merchant mix. It includes all of the above. We have an opportunity to add so much and, again, build on that momentum that we've started. So I'm excited to see what comes in the next few years.
Thank you for joining us for North Bay 101, where each week KRCB and North Bay journalists bring you the stories shaping California's North Bay. Our thanks to today's guests, Natalie Hansen with the Press Democrat, Marie McCusker with Downtown Petaluma Association, and Pauline Block with the Santa Rosa Downtown Action Organization. For more updates, follow along at krcb.org. New episodes drop every Friday on YouTube, the NorCal Public Media app, all major podcast platforms, and right here on KRCB 104.9, Sonoma County's NPR station. This episode of the North Bay 101 was edited, produced, and engineered by Mark Prell. Production support by Greta Mart and Noah Abrams, with digital support by Kelly Olson. KRCB-FM is managed by Katherine Nelson. North Bay 101 is a production of KRCB News and NorCal Public Media. Our president and CEO is Darren Lachelle. I'm Chandra Back. The nation's founders recognized a free press as an essential protection for the people. Today, KRCB's newsroom carries that responsibility with reporting that's accountable to the community we serve. Support trusted local journalism at krcb.org. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.